This is Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony on FM 92.7 and AM 1400. The Answer.
Good morning, Detroit. Detroit's Morning Answer with John Anthony. If you missed that first hour, and especially that interview with Hank Choate, please go head over to theanswerdetroit.com. That's theanswerdetroit.com. You know, I love to tell you when I get good news. As you guys know, my book is getting ready to be made into a major motion picture. We got our first investor over the weekend, and I am beyond excited to see that a book that I wrote, Suffering Through Pain, called Letters to John Boy, about my son's suicide, is now about to become a major motion picture. It just means the world to me, and I want to thank all of you for helping make that happen, because somebody in Hollywood caught notice of my book and thought it needed to become a major movie. So it just warms my heart. You know, I actually met our next guest a couple of years ago. He had the best, I think, car and political. He had what's the Tesla truck? The Cybertruck out there, and he was campaigning, and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. And they had like a lot of guys, talking about that we should elect our next guest and send him to Congress. And, you know, Michigan produces a certain kind of fighter. Someone who does not fold when the government oversteps, who refuses to stay quiet when powerful institutions cross the line, and who is willing to stand alone in courtrooms where the verdict feels predetermined. Nick Somberg is one of those fighters. He's an attorney, a lifelong entrepreneur from Bingham Farms who built his career defending the people everyone else had already written off. He earned his degree from Oakland University and graduated from Western Michigan Thomas Cooley Law School before founding Somberg Law, where he focuses on criminal defense, personal injury, and major civil rights cases. Nick has also built one of the most influential legal platforms in Michigan by exposing misconduct, explaining the law in a way ordinary citizens can grasp, and refusing to bend to political pressure. His willingness to take on controversial cases, including defending one of the Michigan electors targeted by the current Attorney General, has placed him directly in the center of the fight over government weaponization in this state. He ran for Congress in Michigan's 11th District in 2024, stepping into the arena at a time when Michigan's political landscape was shifting. Civil liberties were under attack, and voters were demanding honesty, courage, and someone willing to challenge state power. Nick may not be on the ballot this cycle, but he remains in the center of Michigan's legal and political battles. And today, we get to hear the lessons he's learned from standing in the fire. Nick, welcome to Detroit's Morning Answer.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Now, Nick, you defended one of the Michigan electors. I don't know if you just heard my interview with Hank Choate, who was targeted by the Attorney General. What did you see inside that case that revealed just how far government power has been pushed for political gain?
Well, this was unprecedented 120-0 total felony dismissal. I mean, it's amazing that our Attorney General can wield this power. You know, prosecutors have special rules because they have the power of the pen, the power to ruin people's lives, just by charging them with crimes, by making them hire a lawyer, putting them through the process, hurting their reputation. And Judge Simmons, who was appointed by Governor Whitmer, who is a lifelong Democrat, even her dismissed all 120 felonies. Now that I'm getting that number, it's 15 defendants times 8 felonies apiece, dismissed at the preliminary exam stage for no probable cause, meaning that there was not even a question of fact for the jury to decide. There was no question to even go to trial in the light most favorable of the Attorney General. Yeah. So what did I learn is that if you're a Democrat, you can get away with anything.
Oh, but that's true. That is so true. Now, you were even threatened with contempt for comments about this case. What did that experience tell you about free speech inside Michigan's legal system right now?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of free speech cases over the years, and to tell your listeners what happened was it started off with 16 defendants, and a man by the name James Renner, took a deal that said, well, if you testify against the other 15 defendants, we'll give you complete immunity. Now, James did nothing wrong either.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't a fan of him. I'm not, it's, hey, you should stick together with the other electors. None of you did anything wrong.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to turn on everybody. But at the end of the day, his testimony actually helped us because he told the truth, which was we signed a piece of paper as alternate electors. And at the advice of counsel, at the advice of lawyers, Trump campaign. But the news was allowed in the courtroom. They reported his testimony. They took pictures of him. They put it online. And all I did was share the article.
Wow.
On my own Facebook. And, I use sarcasm sometimes and humor on my social media. People can follow me mostly on Facebook, just Nicholas Somberg. So I post about my cases and wins and just the things that I see. But all I said was the Attorney General's star snitch has now testified.
That's it?
That's it. And I know because I've had to sit through what I call lawyer detention at the Attorney Grievance Commission for a week, for a Saturday morning.
My kind of guy.
Yeah, well, I think I called a prosecutor silly on Facebook one time, and on a video, just talking. Okay, and I just came out of my mouth, and I had to sit through lawyer detention, and I'm like, well, what am I actually not allowed to do here? Because that's a low bar.
Yeah.
I can't call someone silly, and the person at the grievance commission said, well, you're allowed to say things that are objectively true.
Yeah.
So if someone steals, you can call them a thief. If somebody kill someone, you can call him a murderer. So he was a snitch, so I called him a snitch.
Yeah. Wow.
And they, Judge Simmons went, and I was getting death threats because she took the bench and said that I was intimidating witnesses and all. I'm like, what are you doing? You're putting me in danger. And that was right when I was running for Congress.
Yeah.
FBI got involved. I got this guy calling my office, calling my house that he's going to kill me. And yeah.
Oh my goodness, brother.
Went off the rails.
Now, I know you were attorney for Mashawn Maddock, who I think is a complete rock star in Michigan. I really do.
Yeah.
Now, that was for the fake electors in Michigan. But they were also, the Biden administration were watching over them in Arctic Frost. Were you a part of the Arctic Frost cases as well?
No. In calling them the fake electors, that's the Attorney General's name for them. They were actually elected in Michigan to be the electors for Trump.
Correct. That's what Hank Choate just said. He said, listen, every time that people mention us, they mention us as fake electors, and in reality, we were elected to go there. And there's precedent for that. There's precedent for that, Nick. And how did I said to Hank, did anybody in the courtroom, anybody say that there's precedence for this? And he said no, pretty much no. Why?
Well, in our case, no. It was day one. It was Hawaii 1963, where there was a close call, and both parties submitted their political ballots.
Yeah.
So whether our situation was different or less or more, there was still precedent that this was an okay thing to do. And the only thing fake about the case was the charges.
Yeah.
I call it Nestle's fake case. In people, you got to take things to the logical basics. So if I questioned the general counsel for the U.S. Senate during the case, and I asked him, I go, well, don't people just for argument's sake, don't people send crazy things to the White House all the time?
Yeah.
Like out of 320 million people we got in this country, like don't the White House receive mail that says I'm the president, or I'm a sovereign citizen, or my house is my own country. And he goes, yes. And I said, well, has anybody ever declared to be an elector? Well, yes. Like, in the history of the United States, has anybody ever been criminally charged for for sending such a letter?
Yeah.
No. So this is the first time. And if you write on a napkin, I declare I'm the president of the United States, and you sign it, seal it, mail it to the White House. Okay, which essentially, I'm an elector. Okay, that's what they're saying. That they've signed a piece of paper saying that they're an elector. So if I sign a piece of paper saying I'm the president, I'm Jesus, and I mail it to the White House, then I just commit fraud, forgery, conspiracy, election fraud. And by the way, those are the 4 charges. And I asked the Attorney General, well, why is it 8? Shouldn't it, this for argument's sake, if you're right, shouldn't it be 4? Like, why is it 8?
Yeah.
And they go, well, the one signature counts for Pence and Trump. So it's times two.
Nick, now there's a we got the governor's race, we have the attorney general's race, secretary of state. I mean, there's the U.S. Senate, and even the control of Congress may run through Michigan. With all of that said, when you look at the landscape of Michigan, and you're out there speaking, whoever your candidate is, you're out there talking about the importance of these races. Which one does Michigan really need the most? Do they need the governor's mansion, the attorney general race, secretary of state? I know they're all important, the U.S. Senate. Which one would you be out there just saying, hey, we definitely have to get this person in place?
It's got to be the governor and the AG.
Yeah.
And right now we just have this mix of people that are, in my opinion, we're working together to just badger conservatives.
Yeah.
And they should just do I could not imagine being in that position of power like the attorney general and saying, I'm going to use this high honorable office to go after my political opponents, no matter what. And we got to get these people out to get Republicans in who are just going to do the right thing and just care about Michigan and not care about spending all day trying to attack the other side or attack Trump and just, spin their tires and waste our time and money. It's ridiculous.
What should the people of Michigan look for in their next governor? What if you had to build a profile of what the next Michigan governor should be or should look like or should say, what would that be?
Jeez, you want somebody who tells the truth. You want somebody who has built themselves up, who doesn't really need the position, who's doing it for the right reasons, who's not afraid to stand up and even sometimes vote against their own party if their morals require it. That somebody who's going to shrink the size and power as well. Our government's completely out of control, and less is more when it comes to political power. When it comes to the government.
What standard should Michigan voters apply when choosing the next top law officer, the attorney general race? What should they look for in that?
As I said, the attorney general position is the highest law enforcement position in the state of Michigan. Some people don't know that this is actually oversee all the police officers.
Yep.
And what I'm looking for, number one, I want someone who's going to bring Dana Nessel to justice. I think something needs to be done about that. You shouldn't be able to we have set the standard now that you can use the position to go after your political opponents and have nothing happen.
Yeah.
And I've been pushing. I'm not joking that she needs to step down and resign. There needs to be that, at least symbolically, but she should face some sort of consequences for wasting the millions of dollars and for putting 8 people, down to 7 people through hell. I mean, we had one of the electors die of a heart attack or heart condition. It wasn't the actual heart attack, but the conditions from it, hours after the case was dismissed.
Yeah.
So she put people through hell. And what I'm looking for is an attorney general who is not going to use their position of power to go after the other party. But, when somebody has already done it,
right.
I think it's an exception to make an example of them.
Which is what the Trump administration is doing now to the people who use lawfare on them. And now people are saying Trump is on a retribution. No, he's correcting things that were happening, correct?
It's totally different. And it's a palm to the face, arguing, well, Trump's going after people. Well, yeah, they did it to him.
Yeah.
Where were you? Where were you when this was happening to Trump? But it's different. It's different to when you're righting wrongs versus just doing the wrong.
Yeah. What's your take on? I know that President Trump is talking about bringing in people to oversee the Michigan elections because when you think about Benson, who's currently the Secretary of State, she'll be overseeing her own election. Should she be? I mean, she's running for governor. What's your take on Trump sending in people to oversee the Michigan election?
Well, I was there at the TCF Center at the 2020 election when somehow I was actually kicked out of the TCF Center when we were recounting the votes in the 2020 election, and somehow the Democrats were just able to run the whole thing, to kick people out of the building, to cover up the windows. We have a very broken process here, and it should be oversaw here.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Elise Slotkin, the current senator here. Now, I could imagine you being in Congress and pushing back against her saying this.
So to every American watching, whether you're on healthcare.gov or you're on private insurance, if you're getting those letters, if you're getting those notifications of an increase of your bill of $200, $500, $800 starting January 1, my peers on the other side of the aisle are the ones you should lay it at their feet. Because they have put us in this place, and if they vote tonight against this...
Now, she's saying that Obamacare is the fault of Republicans. Now, first of all, not one Republican voted for it then. Not one Republican voted to extend the subsidies in the ARPA, and then not one Republican voted to in the Reduction in Inflation Act to extend the subsidies out here. What do you say to the Michigan voters, and how would you explain this out?
I don't understand your question.
No, as it relates, her saying that this falls at the feet of Republicans as to if the subsidies are not restored. This is the Republicans' problem. This is their fault if people's subsidies are not renewed. How is that Republicans' fault?
Well, it's not. It shouldn't have been there in the first place. And this is just another example of the government getting their hands into things where they shouldn't.
Yeah.
Healthcare, education, it makes everything cost more, lower quality. It shouldn't even be there in the first place.
Yeah. You know, there are a lot of analysts saying that the control of Congress may run through Michigan. How important is this for voters who may not realize the national stakes from their local elections?
Well, one person can make all the difference.
Yep.
I mean, Republicans got to get in and to maintain control, or things are going to keep getting worse.
Wow. Where can people follow you if someone wants to, if they feel like the government is coming after them and they want Nick Somberg to be their attorney? How can people find you?
Yes, so I primarily practice criminal defense, and I'm a Republican, but I don't care where you come from, what your political views are. I've defended people from all walks of life against the government. If the government's overstepping their boundaries, if you're charged with a crime, you can call my law office, Somberg Law. You can follow me on Facebook. I post about my jury trials, the government, the corruption that I find in the court systems. There's the ridiculous things that I see out there. So follow me on Facebook, Nick Somberg, or call my office, Somberg Law.
All right, Nick Somberg, thank you again for joining us this morning on Detroit's Morning Answer. And let's hope Republicans run the gambit and take all the seats and take back the Senate as well.
Thank you so much for having me on.
All right, Nick Somberg, thank you so much for joining us.